For Memories Are Now, the album, was there a moment where you kind of waded through and then found the light, so to say, to the kind of the catalyst for the album?
Well, the last song on the record, it's called The Coming, and it was the first song on the record that I wrote.
Okay.
For this particular album. And I was in that beginning stage. First of all, that darkness doesn't necessarily happen with every song.
Okay.
And when you get your wheels turning, writing might become more easy.
Right.
But it varies from song to song. But if I've been out of the practice of writing for a bit, say my attention is on other things, and I have to get the cogs moving again, there might be some rust in place.
Right.
So for the start of this particular process, I went on this walk. I call it a writing walk.
Okay.
And it's something a lot of writers do, you know. It's not unusual or unique. And I walked 10 miles and I hummed the whole way, and I, you know, would piece certain words together the whole way, and I was very displeased. I was just very unsatisfied with what I was able to come up with on that 10 miles. And I didn't have anything at the end. I recorded into my phone. And then I cooked dinner, and I took a bath. And then I went back out to my writing room, which I like to call my torture chamber. And I sat down and started that song. And it came out really easy. And it's I think it's one of the most fulfilled and complete songs on the record. And it came from the very practical application of going on a walk and getting my emotional body and my musical mind connected.
Right. And now with a bit of separation, because that was a while ago, how do you look at the coming now?
I think the coming is relevant. I think it's relevant.
In what way?
I think it's something that's, for me personally, would help people. I think that there's too much separation happening. And I think especially in my own country, in the world at large, there's too much separation happening and pitting against each other. And I think that religion, for me, from my experience, has played a large part in that. And I just want to see the dissolution of these structures that cause such separation,
right,
and so much trouble.
Because I came across another interview you did where you said 2016 personally for you was a very good year. You had an album with Sam Beam, and but then, as you say, and not just in your country but all over the world, things are happening. So is that difficult then to write a song and to balance those two sides?
I think it's very difficult to understand the world and to try and, I think you can only speak from your own perspective. So that song speaks from my own perspective, but at the root of what I think brings people a lot of pain.
And then, can I assume you still live in the UK? Because then I think there's also a lot of British culture that is rubbing off on you in a way. Because when I
think everything I'm wearing comes from British culture. Okay. I think that I used to dress quite differently, and I've really loved the British influence. I love their I like how what they wear.
Okay. Was it when you first came there? I think in 2008, but I'm not sure. But was it a difficult adjustment from kind of the way you were living in the United States?
It was. It was. I did not think it was going to be shocking, but it was.
In what way? So obviously the climate, but
the climate. Where I'm from is quite soft and accommodating, and kind of like I was kind of surrounded by. Well, I've moved around a lot. Los Angeles, even though people don't see it as a user-friendly city, it is. it's a very like play. It's like a playland.
Right.
And I really enjoyed the many different elements of it and how it provides for you. It feeds you, you know, in these ways. It's fun. Sonoma County, where I'm from originally, is just gorgeous. And agriculture, it's agricultural. And it's on the ocean and it's mountains and
Sure.
it's just beautiful. I didn't really have a sense of what it was before I moved away from it.
Okay.
But geologically, it's one of the most beautiful places that I could ask to live. And in Manchester, I didn't understand that the cultures were so different. And also, moving there at the age that I did, because people were older. And I found it very isolating. And also not very user-friendly, because it doesn't cater to you.
Right.
I like that in a way. It's also Northern England, where there's a different, it's kind of stubborn. It's quite stubborn. And it has its ideas of what life is about.
So these environments, and then they are very different. And I suppose your debut record was mostly written in the United States. So...
No, oh, Memories Are Now?
No, your debut record, the
Yes.
first one. So
That was
did
written over many years growing up.
So did you notice that the environment you were in as you were writing songs and being creative, did that have an effect?
I don't know. People ask me that a lot. I like writing when it's raining.
Okay.
So there's plenty of opportunity there. But I can't actually say, because I'm too close to it to understand. It's like smelling your own breath.
Right.
It's kind of impossible.
Okay.
Unless it's really bad.
And then, what I was going towards was in Animal Kingdom Chaotic, there's a line, "Computer says no."
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that comes from me.
I know it from British culture.
That's Little Britain.
Yes.
It's a directly taken from Little Britain.
So
I love British comedy.
Yeah, so can you take me kind of through how that track came together? I mean, was it
the
seeing
song?
that? Yeah, was it seeing that line stuck in your mind and then?
I was frustrated with this guy behind a counter who he wouldn't just sell me hash browns. He wanted to sell me the full English breakfast, and I just wanted the potatoes, but he was still going to charge me the same amount. So I just thought, it's just thinking about folks who aren't interested in doing their work. They're just interested in doing their job.
Sure.
And not really taking any personal power or having any personal say in their own lives. And then the song goes into strange, like, drone warfare. Don't ask me. I don't take much credit in how the songs turn out.
Okay.
I kind of follow the song's lead, but...
Is it then later on that you discover certain things, maybe what you were going through at the time in those songs?
I don't know. I think that I just kind of scrap around for an idea that is entertaining to me.
Okay.
And try to make use of it.
When then do you know that the ideas those ideas that you kind of gathered that they work, that you found what you were looking for?
Usually, if the melody and the sound of the words is interesting to me.
Okay.
If I find that it also emotionally conveys a story, or emotionally, if it's emotionally charged in one sense or the next. So it has to be a combination of holding a certain amount of value in terms of intellect or emotion and sound. It's a whole combination of wanting to connect in all different sorts of ways.
And you mentioned the isolation that goes with kind of songwriting in a way for you. So is making an album, is that a difficult thing? Is that an arduous thing for you?
It's cathartic.
Okay.
So I used to look at it like a song's either going to make me cry or laugh. Usually, if it's funny because you have to look at it very like realistically. It's a strange job.
Sure.
Writing songs is a really weird thing to do because you're like staring off into the nowhere for, for who knows why. It's irrational. It's an irrational thing to do. It doesn't make any sense. And I think that's why I like it, because it doesn't... Somebody made sense of all this for us, and we were born into it. Because most of what is happening here is a fiction. Even though that building, I think this building is real. But the system that we're living in is a fiction, so it's really nice to have songs that you can build other systems in.
Right.
And in Computer Says No, I'm asking for people to help build those other systems. And just fucking give me those potatoes at a price that doesn't reflect the full English breakfast.
Well, is this going back to that idea of the nuclear family, that kind of we live in a world where things seem to have a supposed way to be, yet you're trying to break out of that paradigm of thinking?
Yeah, because ownership didn't always happen. We as human beings didn't always own anything. We were loyal to each other like pack animals are, but we didn't necessarily own our children. We were together. I think that's our nature, we're together. But I think God, the idea of God plays into how we live. And I think that it informed a whole lot about how we live now.
This might be, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but how do you look back at your own religious upbringing then?
I'm grateful for the education and the experience. I don't have anything to compare it to, so ignorance is bliss. But I mean, it plays a part in who I am, and I think with it comes some understanding, so that's helpful. I'm no longer a Mormon, can you tell?
Yeah. Well, that's why, because you have this very specific upbringing, but then at a certain point you kind of start to form your own opinions about it.
Yeah, that started at the age of 16 through a friend. My first ever chosen friend that didn't come necessarily through circumstance.
Right.
And her parents were atheist, and she's actually features in that song, The Coming. When I met her parents, I was like, well, they're good people. I'm not supposed to be friends with more people who are outside of the church, which is a red flag in the first place. But I wasn't supposed to be friends with people outside of the church. And she was my first chosen friend, and her parents were atheists, and it made me think. I was like, well, they look like good people. So that just opened up, it's the fray that undid the fabric, as it were.
Finally then, because we've been here for a while, the album title, when in the whole process did that kind of solidify as the album title?
I think when it to me revealed a sentiment that was relatable and direct. I don't know if you see it as direct, but it's kind of an abstract way to say. I know that's a juxtaposition to say direct and abstract, but it's the way of saying memories are now. What you're doing right now creates what you will remember. So why not create a good memory? And all sorts of things. The song is layered. But when I figured out that those three words had something to say and offer, that the listener or viewer could derive something from in a direct way, is when it landed.
Very last question then. We talked about where you grew up, very beautiful. So do you ever think about moving back?
I think about how nice it would be to live there in terms of the landscape, but it's a bit too slow for me right now. I mean, it would be so nice to live on a farm out there. But I don't see myself going back there. I don't know. We'll see.
I think my time's up, so
okay.
Thank you very much.
Oh, that might have been them telling us to
Wrap it up.
wrap it up.